Come and take a class at the Alteration.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of Alter Academy, where we have another special guest, fresh off his Worlds appearance, representing Team Luxury, and one of the first people I ever met in Disney Lorcana at one of the first 1Ks in Set 1, Humza Khan, everybody. How are you doing today, Humza? I'm very excited to have you here.
I'm great, happy to be here and excited to get started.
Yeah, I knew I had to get you on the show once I started because a lot of people are good at Ruby Sapphire, but you have played Ruby Sapphire since Set 1. I actually played against you. We were both on the bubble looking to make top cut at that 1K, and I ran into you playing Ruby Sapphire, and I'd never, ever even played against that deck in Set 1. And I've just been so excited to see your success in the DLCs. You have one of the highest win rates, and you just do not draw in best of 2 format. And then your success at continentals into qualifying for worlds, and so all on the back of Ruby Sapphire pretty much. And so let's go just straight into it and tell me about this deck list, and of course the card count in the deck list.
For sure. This list came to be after my Worlds run, where I was like, okay, maybe I should just change it up because everyone played items. Let's make items a little bit more different. As everyone knows, if you know who I am, I play over 60 cards. So because of that bet that I lost to R&B and Sailor, I no longer can play 72. So instead, I play 66. 66 with a 21 uninkable count, but a lot of ways to filter through the uninkable. And here it is. It's a fun deck. It's a little bit more different, but it's great into the shark mirrors as well as into the items mirrors as well.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing for me about this is you're over 60 cards with only 3 Vision of the Futures. Can you explain that one to me? Because that one's wild.
I think with the card draw availability that you have in an items build and the fact that I'm running 21 items, I think Visions is less important to
Okay.
me. And I would argue that some of the other removal packages and or just the item density as well requires a lot more engagement with the deck as compared to just filtering through it. I only really use Visions if I'm really don't have any of the 3 plans that you're gonna run with this deck, or if I just need to draw into something at this point in time.
Got it. And then can you tell me about, I think, one of the more interesting inclusions, this Basil's Magnifying Glass?
Yeah, I actually am very, very, very high on that card. I think it's a mirror breaker. So basically, it's either that or Carpet Bag.
Yeah.
And the fact that this card is inkable, you can use it multiple times a thing. You also don't need to have a popsicle available as compared to Carpet Bag. Carpet Bag for me, I know a lot of the top players are high on it, and I totally respect them for it. For me, it's felt very clunky. As a 5-drop uninkable, it only comes in like it's off curve a lot of times. Versus I can play Magnifying Glass on 2 if I really need to and I don't have ramp. And I think that the consistency of being able to use it every single turn, especially like top deck mode, it's fantastic. And so it's really put in the work as compared to a lot of the other items, being a way to both filter and draw cards.
Got it. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then we're over 60 cards, but we're only at 3 Scrooges. Walk me through that line of thinking.
Okay, that actually is because I only own 3 Scrooges, not because I want to play 4.
Okay. Really?
I can get another one, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Scrooge, okay, so Scrooge for me is one of those things where, yeah, Tala or Scrooge, I think my accounts on this deck are a little bit weirder than you usually have. I have a lot of 3-ofs instead of 4-ofs. I know people say, oh, it removes the consistency, but I was like, when you're playing over 60 cards, consistency is not what you're going for anyway.
Yeah.
So if I can add another thing, if I can always increase my top decks, then why don't I? Like, I've been on Hades since Set 1. I love that card. People are like, oh, why are you doing that? I was like, I play Medusa because with the both Fishbone Quill and Sapphire Quill available, it just makes the removal package that much better. So Scrooge is great. I don't think it's an absolute necessity. For sure, for an items deck, it is your premier card, but I don't think you have to play 4 of and have to play it on turn 3 every single time.
Got it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and actually, you have one of the more interesting quotes that I remember when someone asked you why you play more than 60, and you said, I don't care if it's harder for me to draw. I just want to make sure that that answer
The
is
answer's
available
available.
in the deck. And so I always tell people that, and I've always thought that that was very interesting. And that stuck with me like for over a year now. I think you said that to me back in at the first DLC in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and it's really just stuck with me, like kind of imprinted, just lives rent free in there. So. I guess
One
with
day, Jeff. One day you'll play over 60 as well.
I have played over 60, just 61, I think. Actually, no. Set one Ruby Amethyst, I played 67, but that was like mathematically the right amount because we needed to play for 3 or 4 Ursulas, and that was like the only way to get the unankable counts right. But yeah,
For sure.
that was a weird exception because we were going to deck out every time as well too, so we were seeing the entire deck. Oh god, don't even get me started on set one. I love set one. Okay, let's get into alters before I just go off the rails here in set
No
one
worries.
discussions. That's fun. Okay. So, as we always do here on Alter Academy, we're going to start blind on the play, and this one looks to me like it's going to be a quick and easy alter.
Yeah, I actually, well, okay. You say quick and easy. I would ship everything but one Sisu and one coil, one small Sisu and one coil. And the rationale I use for that is because if I'm on the play without knowing what I'm doing, I want to have some sort of removal available, and of course an item. And so those two work in unison, turn two, turn three. And so I wouldn't feel as bad, especially if I'm playing against like a Daisy deck going aggro on me.
Yeah, and I see this. You're almost certainly going to have a pretty good play, regardless of the matchup, unless it's a mirror match or shark matchup. And
Right.
so this is pretty safe and likely to do well. So let's go ahead and alter and see what we get here. And I think
Oh,
we're going to be pretty happy with this.
yeah, no turn one play, but that's to be expected with this deck.
Oh
And then
yeah,
you get ramp on two if you have to. And then potentially I play workshop on four or three. Just have available to be able to play one of my two items that I have left.
perfect. I think that's a pretty easy one. So let's just go straight into blind on the draw now.
Ooh. That's actually isn't bad either. Blind on the draw, keep Tipo, Brawl, and probably the Scrooge, and just get rid of the other. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now I don't usually like to keep Brawl on the play, but we are on the draw, so I think that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we get.
Still not bad. A little more uninkable. I mean, that's fine. You ink the Tommy, and then probably see what you draw, and don't ink the visions. That's the one thing about this deck. Do not ink the visions if you can. And then play Tipo, go into Scrooge, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, pretty straightforward line there. All right, let's go into uh, Diggy Diggy on the play.
Oh, okay.
So the more
So
aggressive
Diggy Diggy,
steel.
yeah, yeah. Diggy Diggy on the play, as we know, is exceptionally aggressive, and you need to either find the shift Sisu line immediately or have some sort of way to get rid of their hyper aggro start. Um, in that case, I would potentially keep the Maui, the Popsicle, and the Tipo. Um, I would have. I can't keep the prep. Just
Mm-hmm.
Eat on curve. Medusa sure is fine. And then the Sisu line, I only have one of the two pieces, and it requires a lot to go right. So I would chip those four.
Got it. Yeah, I agree with you here. So let's go ahead and see what we alter.
Okay. Not great, but not horrible. The only issue is if you run into the Daisy Piglet line at this point in time. Um, sure, I'm on the play, so it's a little bit better,
Yeah,
but that's gonna hurt a lot. You got a lot of inkables here. Tommy first, probably into Popsicle, into the one thing I really like about this deck is you can either play the Chicha or the Tipu line, depending on what's available in front of you. Like if you're playing against discard, cool, we're going with the Chicha line. But into a deck that's going to potentially get into Diggity Hole, right? It doesn't particularly matter, so I can play the Chicha on two instead and not have to get burned that badly.
yeah. I actually kind of like the Chicha on two because then turn three you can play the Tipo and get the draw from Chicha and maybe
Yep.
clunk into something. Probably not, but
Correct.
yeah, because you don't have any plays here that you're gonna take advantage of from playing the Tipo on 2. So I like that line of
Yes.
thinking.
Exactly.
So let's go same deck on the draw now.
Alrighty. Well, against hyper aggro, if it's AD hole, I'm keeping both the Sisu, the Brawl, and potentially the Sapphire Coil as well. It's ink at worst, but it also will help set up the Sisu line later on, and I need to just have removal suites available to stop their flooding of the board.
Right. Yeah, you've got all the answers here for early game, which always good. So let's see what we get.
Oh, I mean, this is honestly even better. We've got 2 items available. We've got the workshop available. We got sale on 2. This line is always a little weird. The only real hard part of this deck is what do you play turn 2? Are you ramping every single time? Are you playing coil? Are you doing something else of that line? Are you playing another item? Um, because it sets up the rest of your board, right? There's been turns where I've gotten burned because I no longer have a coil available because I've inked it instead.
Yeah.
I think in this case, I wouldn't ramp. I think I'd ink the Tommy first and then play the coil just to have everything available so that my removals are all a lot more efficacious at the end.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Let's go to Emerald Steel discard on the play. Everyone's favorite.
So Emerald Steel discard. There are 2 ways you can play this deck into it. You can either really go all in on the Chicha line just to help you draw cards, or you can go all in on the ramp line. Either way is a great way to start because your threats are just a lot better, especially if you have Tommy or Medusas and such like that. In this case, I would probably just keep 1 Tipa, 1 Popsicle, and 1 Chicha. I know some people would argue keep both Popsicles, and I think that the argument is made only when you know for sure. Like if I'm going in blind and I don't know Thermal Steel, I almost never keep the other popsicle. It's fine in here because I have another inkable, but the other inkable is the Tamatoa,
Yeah.
which you really don't want to ink in this matchup, especially when you need to draw cards. So that's why I would do it that way.
All right. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what we get here. We got a lot of good early
GSD
ink.
Yeah, early ink. We have GSD available. We have a more ramp with the hideaway if we absolutely need it. Which I really wouldn't do if I were you. But like, hey, if I need to get rid of a cove right then and there, that's perfectly fine if people are still playing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I ink the Tipo, one of the Tipos here, play the Popsicle, play Chicha, play the other Tipo available, and then probably set up GSD right after that.
Yeah.
So that every single turn I'm at least getting some sort of value out of it.
Yeah, getting that early GSD, especially with the Chicha and Tipo, means you're going to get at least some early ink from these early bodies,
Yeah.
most likely.
And I would argue you can only really do that on the play. On the draw, if you're trying to set up GSD, you're probably just going to lose the game because they'll just get so much value out of it. Sure, they may discard you, but at that point, they're establishing their board, and if you don't have an out for their Diablo, you're kind of cooked, unfortunately.
Right. But good thing you have a lot of answers for Diablo.
I do.
So let's go ahead and do the Emerald Steel discard on the draw now.
Oh, what's a raw band?
Hey, we still get to alter here, so we can save that.
I think I'm skipping everything but the popsicle, unfortunately. There's an argument to be made to keep the quill available, just because if you are playing against discard, but if you're on the draw by the time that's happening, your hand's probably already discarded to a certain point. And so I would ship it at this point in time as well.
All right.
Oh.
Not too bad.
Okay, yeah. Not too bad. I mean, you're playing what? Probably Foil on 1, play Popsicle, play Tipo on 2, and then play Scrooge and hope that you get some sort of other items.
Yep.
This case, you really want to keep your Tamatoa on hand just to have that recurring card draw available, and if everything goes well, to be able to play a Sisu. But you need a small Sisu at this point in time. This would be a risky hand, but I'd feel okay with this going into on the draw.
Yeah, if they avoid like shift Diablo into Prince John, I think you're probably safe. But if they get that like powerful start, you're pretty much always finished, and there's not too much you can do. which is
Correct.
why
That's
I'm
just like,
excited to see Diablo go bye-bye.
hey, we
Hopefully.
never know if that puzzle theory works out.
Yeah. Uh, all right. Let's go into Emerald, Amethyst, Tempo on the play.
So the matchup with that deck is pretty unfavored, at least in general, just because they can outvalue you so quickly. Um, it's essentially an aggro deck as well. Here, you're be perhaps gonna get sniped with Ursula. You kind of may want to keep the Sisu potentially, because like that just outs their entire board essentially. But I get it, we don't have the small Sisu in hand, so I'd only keep the Tipo, Fishbone Coil and Chicha, and I would keep the Fishbone Coil just to activate the Chicha if I can, or just to have ink available.
Got it. So, here's one where I actually would probably also keep the second Tipo just for early ink because I hate drawing them later. And so if I have like playable cards, I have kept 3 Tipos in my opening hand just to have
Really?
easy ink. I love doing that. I know a lot of other people don't, and it just depends on the hand. But like if I have 3 Tipos in a Tala or like a how far, obviously you don't have how far in this deck, but I'm keeping the three
Yeah, yeah.
Tipos. All right.
Wow.
Let's go ahead and alter.
Didn't get burned. I think that's a perfectly fine hand.
Oh yeah,
Ink Hideaway on one. You can actually, it's a really cool thing. You can either play the Chicha, play the Sail, or play the Tipo here. I actually would potentially play the Chicha here because it's not really going to get bounced or anything, and you have 2 ways
yeah,
to ramp it next turn with another availability. And so you're going to get at least 1 card draw out of it. You have at least a Brawl for their early like 2 questers it's going. The only dead card in this hand is the Workshop, but you need a Workshop in this deck in general.
yeah. I think this hand would auto win versus any like medium to slow deck, but since we're against like
Yes.
kind of an aggro deck on it's it's a little scarier, but it is doable. All right, so let's go into on the draw now. Emerald Amethyst Tempo.
Ooh. Um, the Workshop here is a very interesting consideration, because you need an early. It's, I mean, as I was talking about, it is an aggro deck, so you need to be able to sustain, and the Sisu would really help here. I would argue for getting rid of the 2 Workshops, the Tommy and the Quill, and the only argument for keeping the Scrooge is to have a big body to
Mm-hmm.
contest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on this one. And let's go ahead and see what we get.
Okay, that's actually great for removal packages available here.
Yeah.
The fish hook would really also help the Diablo if you don't want to ink it. I know it really sucks. I only have a 1 of here, and honestly, it's just to exercise the Maui prowess. But that fish hook would come in clutch.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably inking visions here on 1, and then playing coil just to have your rest of your deck available, and potentially even inking the fish hook, and then seeing where you're going from there.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, let's go into Blurple on the play.
Oh. Okay, so I will argue that everyone says that the red blue matchup into Blurple is like pretty good.
So good. So good.
I've
At least Shark is.
you
I,
go like
I don't know items as well,
Shark
but
is correct. Shark is, and just that's the whole idea is like your board is really uninteractable up until like 6 or 7 when you're playing Hades and you're bouncing Hades and stuff like that. The items version is good if you get a good items curve going. Just because the straight value they can't keep up with you, and they're not really adding your Tamatoa as quickly either. So in this case, I would try to prioritize the items in general. I'm actually probably shipping. I will say Chicha has been a godsend into the Blurple
oh
matchup.
yeah.
You double Chicha down, and they're like, okay, yeah, I can't really interact with that until I play Elsa or something like that. And if
Right, and
you're
they don't
playing
want to
Elsa
Hades
on
it.
Chicha, exactly.
Or if they do,
So
you're
I would
happy.
ship. Correct. I would keep the Quill, I would keep the Chicha, and I'd keep the Workshop, and I'd probably set everything else.
And I will note that I think this Medusa is really strong in this matchup, especially with them playing 4 Hades and Genies and such.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
not a lot of items decks play 3 Medusa, and so I think you have a little more favorability there because Medusa is just such a powerful card
Correct.
against like
Correct.
everything Blurple has. I'm trying to think of what it can't hit.
Radigan, if
Yeah,
people play it.
yeah, a few.
And I was like, if you're playing Radigan, I'm gonna lose anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're playing that and you're using a bunch of tactics, it's probably game.
All right, so let's go ahead and see what we get here. Maui's also really good in this matchup.
Yeah, I think we just don't play. We ink the Vitalis because it's not really gonna do anything for you. And then you can set up a Chicha ramp line available, and just like start drawing the cards as much as you need to. Brawl would be great here too. You're probably getting. I mean, I really adding their Tipo. If we had kept the coil, that'd been fine. Okay. The one thing is, coil is one of those cards where it's great if you have it, and if you don't, you're just like begging for it the entire time. Right?
Yeah, it's like I need my one coil out, and then I never want to see it again. I love cards
Correct.
like that. It's a really good card design.
Especially in the Blurple matchup, right? Where like everything isn't gonna really have more than like okay, as long as you have a Medusa or a coil or Medusa and coil or Medusa and brawl available, you're fine. You're getting rid
Yeah.
of everything. So here it's fine. I may actually end up inking the brawl because it's not gonna really do any of the early game matchups. But yeah, this is a good line to draw cards and have outs for if they play the Macduck Manor here, or if they play any of the big creatures worth now available as well.
Yeah, I always like Brawl on the draw versus Blurple just to out an early Genie and not let it get 6 lore, because
Correct.
usually like it takes us a lot of turns to set up, and then that kind of stops it for a
Correct.
little bit, and that usually
Yeah.
that 6 lore like makes a big difference. And so although it's not like a great play, I hate those early Genies and gotta stop the bleeding there.
For sure.
All right, let's go into show us your masterwork on the Ruby Sapphire Items mirror
Okay.
on the play.
Oh, goaded. This hand would be nuts. I mean, the name of the game in the mirror is, of course, who plays Workshop first,
Yeah.
and gets Workshop going. Um, okay, so the only argument here is that two Workshops is very greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping both is a hard decision. People often will do it because if you somehow get the first out and you keep the second one, I would argue. I mean, so the hand doesn't have turn 2 ramp, which you sometimes do need in the mirror just to keep the tempo going. I would say keep one workshop, one popsicle, and potentially a Vitalosphere just for the inkable ability. Remember, my deck has a little higher uninkable count than most.
Yep.
So it's a little harder, and Vitalosphere can just be an item that you need. And I will shift the Chicha, shift the Coil, and shift the Sisu as well. Because they're not really Chicha. So the Chicha matchup, the Chicha in the mirror is not as good because you have Brawl, because you have Sisu available for people who do play either of those. I know the DKP lists don't, but the items list sometimes do, and so it's not going to give you as much value as you need.
Got it. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we get here. We don't love that at all.
Ooh, see, so I am glad I kept another inkable in this case. I didn't get
Yeah.
burned as badly here. The fact that I have, I mean, I won't have a turn 2 play at this point in time, which is kind of bad, but I feel, oh, yeah, no, this would not be good. This would be,
We're just
this would
gonna.
need a little things happening for me to feel okay. Because, I mean, at least I have the coil, the quill, so like
Yeah.
it'll help me filter a lot of the inkables. Though I'm probably not playing quill on 3. I'm playing workshop first,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So it would be, but like most people, if even in the mirror, by turn 3 or 4, you're gonna have either a workshop out or another Scrooge out. So I'm not that worried about the lore wise, and I can still develop my board at that point in time.
Got it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's go for our last altar of the day on the draw versus the mirror.
Oh, okay, all right. On the draw, I mean, what I really try to dig for on the draw is a hideaway.
Mm-hmm.
And people would say, wait, why do you care about the hideaway? I was like, the hideaway for their early workshop is backbreaking,
Yeah.
especially if I don't have one. people are like, I don't know what else to do now. Like I'm just playing tiny cards, and I was like, if one reason is a lot of people don't play more than one hideaway, and they're usually waiting for a dime to use it on, so that you won't waste it that regard. And I'm like, I play at least two, because the argument's always been hideaway at worst is a ramp onto for yourself, especially if you have a popsicle another item. So it's still doing some sort of value.
Yeah, Hideaway's basically
In this
uninkable
case,
in this matchup, and I think to go off of exactly what you said, if you go and review, for those watching at home, if you go and review the DKP versus Federico top 8 match at Worlds, you can kind of see the impact of what Hideaway does to an items deck, where DKP kept it in his opening hand, waited for Federico to play the workshop, had two hideaways for both the workshops he played, and then Federico just had to draw a pass for most of the game because he just didn't have anything.
Exactly. So for this, I am probably keeping the popsicle and keeping maybe the screw just to have some sort of sustainability, and then shipping the rest. Scrooge at worst again is ink.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and see what we get here.
A little worse, but I will say in this case, a turn two play to get visions to a potential workshop would be, or a hideaway would be what the plan of the day is.
Yeah.
The hook isn't as great here. The brawl isn't as great here. And we would love some sort of ramp to be able to get rid of that Hades early on. But at least we have some more answers, and I'm not as stuck as I would be before.
Perfect. All right, Humza, this has been another great episode of Alter Academy. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we say goodbye today?
For sure. I'd like to shout out, firstly, to, of course, to Team Lux, because they're the ones who've made me as great a player as I am. I'd like to shout out to the Chicagoland community, because they're the ones who've been there since day one. Jeff is one of the great people who's out here. I play touch with all these people. They're my home, and they're the people I will always come to. I'd also like to shout out the Seattle community, where I've been for the last year. They've been instrumental in helping me on my world run and just theory crafting and stuff like that. And of course, I like to shout out always to the Disney Lorcana community. I would not be in the position today without the support and love that everyone gives. And I'm so excited to see what season two unveils for us.
Yeah, awesome. And now I've got to ask. You've been playing Ruby
Yeah.
Sapphire since set one. How are you feeling
Correct.
about Ruby Sapphire post rotation? Is it still got life?
I think it. So currently, based on what's been revealed, I think whatever version of Ruby Sapphire we thought existed no longer will. Shark is still in play. I think the Shark lines become a lot more dominant because power lines available. You have a lot more songs. Sure, you no longer have Make Duck Manor. But as long as Shark exists and as long as Ramp exists, Ruby Sapphire will always be in the meta. What version exists? I think items is going to be a lot less of a dominant card just because no longer dime happening. No longer if we don't know, but if Popsicle doesn't get reprinted, what are we going to do? But I think it shifts to more of a mid-range version in general that is helping to control the onslaught of aggro decks that will exist. So it does exist. It will be there. It just won't be as dominant by any means. And I think DKP, me, Sailor, all these people, we got to figure out what the next versions look like, because people are going to be hammering for this soon.
Yeah, perfect. And Popsicle is such a funny one because there's so many cards that are people like, oh, I hope this doesn't come back. I hope this doesn't come back. But Popsicle is the only one where everyone, a bunch of people are like, I want this back. Bring this one back. And so I think that's like the top of the list of people of what people want to see back, because it's one of those cards where like it doesn't look on paper like it would be special, but just the synergies and interactions it has made it one of just the most meta-defining cards, especially with Tamato, with Workshop, and everything. It's just it's such a silly little one drop that's just so good.
Really, the only argument, like, okay, so Popsicle. Potentially, I think I think right at the iteration that it exists is a little too. It gives you too much freedom of what you can do with it. I think if I would have had to make any sort of adjustment to it, I think you would have had to cost in order to sack it.
Yeah, similar to Fortisphere.
That would have really helped. Exactly. Yeah. I think that would have really, like, sure, the draw one heal is fine, but as long as it's giving you something and you're not doing it for free, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I play small Tomato, I sack 2 popsicle, and I get them both back for free. I think that really hurt the
Right.
availability of the card. Now, if you make that change, I think it's a-okay. I think it's a fair card to play. But yeah, please give me Popsicle back. I want Popsicle more than any other card in the game. It'll make my life so much easier. At least it'll give me some sort of card draw. Because the one thing I will note is card draw seems to be very Amethyst dependent right now. And so other colors need some sort of card draw. And if that's the only thing we got, I need this. I need this immediately. So here's to hoping. Please,
Yeah.
Ravensburger, please give us this.
All right, Humza, it has been a pleasure. I have really enjoyed watching you grow and just dominate DLCs. I think you and Boomy are the only two people who have made day 2 at every single DLC you've played with a minimum of 3. And so shout out to Chicago. But yeah, we drove to Atlanta together. I think it was like the 12-hour drive. You were my roommate. That's where I learned you set an alarm every like 5 minutes on snooze at like 5 o'clock on DLC day. And so that's what I blame not making day 2 on, is just losing that sleep a little bit. But no, I'm just kidding.
Hey,
but
we all have our rituals.
yeah, but hey, this has been a pleasure. I hope you do extremely well and kind of repeat your success in season 2. And this will actually be the last episode of this set for Alter Academy. We're going to take a week or 2 break, and then we're going to move into the new set with our first episode will be with JDRR going through Blurple. All right, see y'all, not next week, actually. See y'all in a couple weeks, everybody. Farewell.
Take care, y'all. Bye.